Bo Jackson.
Yes, you are.
Hi, friends. My name's host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Famous People. And tonight I wasn't sure if I really wanted to live stream tonight or not because I guess I've been feeling kind of FI, a little bit moist, a little damp, a little enswaddled in dew. But I just replied to an email from somebody who said, "Hey, I like the fact that you called out Queen's Gambit." Somebody emailed me to say that, and expressed in that email that Queen's Gambit has done some rather toxic and unacceptable things. So, I mean, I'm not trying to. Hi.
Not quite sure what you did.
Hold on.
TV.
Okay, Dad was upset because what did Eric do? Eric had on the cable remote, how it has cable and TV. I hadn't put it back on cable. I hadn't put it back on cable after I had gotten the TV meowing again. So anyway, this is probably going to be a fairly short live stream. I do want to talk a little bit about toxicity in social media and on YouTube in general, and my evolution regarding that matter over the course of doing more and more YouTube videos. So I've had lots of furious battles from the start of being on YouTube till the current moment. Some of them were furious, but not non-toxic, and some of them were definitely, not healthy in some regard. It is the case for me that social media can make me feel bad, or at least can impact my overall being in ways that I guess afford headspace to certain negative stuff that ideally perhaps I wouldn't afford headspace to, And I'm also aware of the fact that I probably inflict more discomfort in general on other people via the internet than I have inflicted upon me via the internet by and large. So it's a tricky subject for me. However, over the course of the, I don't know, 7 years or so of YouTubing that I've done, that I've been active, I've learned to draw some important distinctions. One of those important distinctions is between stuff that's critical and stuff um, that's provocative and stuff that's spiteful. So it's like I'm going to get a lot of different kinds of pushbacky comments. Some of them are going to be on the grounds of cognitive functions, and they'll often fall into the category of professor lecturing the student. This is a very common FE maneuver by NTPs, fellow NTPs. Sometimes, I guess, I don't know, it seems like an NTP thing mostly, but where they go, well, actually, just to fill you in on this area of ignorance of yours, Eric, blah, 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 blah. They play that game. Sometimes they'll be a little less FE assaultive by saying, well, I think it's meh, 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 meh. That's less FE assaultive. Even less FE assaultive than that would be, well, what do you think about this contraindicative notion that other people have? And depending on how much FE you have, you're going to wrap that in. I'm not saying I ascribe to this. You're going to wrap it in sentences that say that kind of stuff,
Sure.
right? So FE comes into play in terms primarily of distinguishing between adversarial, in other words, trying to establish some sort of one-up on, or non-adversarial. And then the adversarialness qualities, there's various, it's not just binary. There are varying degrees of one-uppedness in terms of tone and approach by FE. Of course, for me, the thing that makes the whole question challenging to deal with is I don't really quite understand very effectively or quickly the FI components of the thing. So Alexander Cruz says it's weird how other people get sad when they see others on vacation and stuff, though. I've never understood that. I mean, the weird thing is, as I go through, my day-to-day experiences with YouTube, it's not only about people relating to me, but people relating to each other within the community. So there's various conflicts between Mia and Mia Party in the live chat, right? And people get their feelings hurt, and people get upset, and people walk away from the experience feeling bad feelings because maybe they came out on the losing end of a battle or something.
Yeah.
It's a tight, difficult line to walk, right?
It really is. I mean, to be totally candid, when I saw that my sister had bought her apartment in Belgrade, Serbia, I couldn't help but feel a little sad because I know that she has a 4-year-old dog that she adopted with her ex-husband. And it was hard for me to be happy about it.
Canterbury, are you saying that that's a quote of me? You're not an INFJ because you don't capitalize your sentences, and INFJ wouldn't do that because of their perfectionism, which they can't deviate from? Are you saying that I said that? Or are you drawing my attention to that quote? Right. TE, instead of TE turning to consensus in general, TE finds specific experts they think are the most correct for whatever reason in their field and ascribe to their position. Hi, Flow State. How are you today? What is the point of capitalizing your sentences? I get that they can help you know it's the start of a sentence, but the thing is you can see the periods. Yeah, I think that I'm not particularly sure if I have a position on capitalization and type. Have I expressed one? I couldn't tell if you were saying you're quoting me. I know you're not quoting me because I wouldn't have expressed it like that even if I were trying to express it. But are you paraphrasing me or are you quoting somebody else and drawing my attention to it? I'm not sure.
Alexandra Cruz, I'd have to say, that's good that you perceive social media as just like you understand that people don't have perfect lives, even though they may show what they want to on social media.
Well, see, I don't see that's not the engine or the warrant for what I'm saying is the problem with toxicity in social media. I'm not talking about people comparing themselves to each other. I'm talking about people explicitly battling each other online, like in this medium, for example.
Yeah, it happens.
And of course, if I'm going around type policing people and they're making videos saying, as a meow, 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 I say meow, 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 and I go, well, you aren't a meow, 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 then it's going to be a challenge, right? It's like I am dropping bombs in people's lives that are larger than I typically think about the impact on people. I think ultimately what made me stop doing type police before was the necessity to factor in too many FI considerations, maybe. Like it became complicated to get around to get around the moral questions and figure out what's appropriate and what's not. It's like well, see, here's the thing, Alexandra Cruz. I am uniquely immune to my dad was talking about it, Bacon. He was telling me about it inside. I'm rather immune to this outing phenomenon. The whole idea here of spilling information about people in order to get them to experience suffering, it doesn't work on me. Becky tried it. She tried emailing my dad. I read those things out loud on the live stream. I don't really have anything to hide. I've admitted everything that I've done that's bad already. I mean, it's not really bad anyway. I mean, I'm talking about stuff that it isn't palatable to the average middle America palate, let's say. Well, apparently the message from certain federal law enforcement agencies is that it is, in fact, those particular emails are a Russian fake. So I don't know. Wow. It's difficult to say what to make of it.
That's interesting. Russian fake?
It defies the I think there's value in your approach in the arena of online interaction. It defies the concept of, I don't know what that is. I'm going to Google it. Ceteris paribus? With others' conditions remaining. Oh, all else being equal. All things being equal. All right. Okay. Well, the thing is, I'm trying to, I could fix those, Genexial. And then the thing is, there are two sides to this FE coin, though, right? So, to the extent that I am nicer, more FE polished, I'd probably offend fewer FI users. But it's not something that it's not like I'm executing a plan in that regard exactly anyway. If I, it's like I'm expressing how I feel, essentially. if I feel bad, like the person is misguided but well intentioned and has just made a mistake or something, and it depends how they play out. It depends how pedantic they play out too. It's like if somebody's walking around trying to sort of making hay off of an attitude of expertise or a tone of an authoritative tone without anything to back it up, then maybe it's just implicit to my cognitive function stack, but I find that offensive. So I don't know. No, there's this David Sanderson is the problem that I have all the time. People that don't understand. It is not a good idea for me to switch media, to switch platforms. It's a bad idea. And there are a finite number of hours in the day, and I'm only going to spend some of them doing stuff that is related to any given platform. So it is not a good idea for me to add a platform, switch platforms, or anything of the sort.
I think this is the best for you.
You're assuming, David Sanderson, that there's more. You're talking about adding a platform. Then you're assuming, David Sanderson, that there is more of an audience base for debate-based stuff than there actually is. It's a very small audience. It's a small audience of TI-12 and TE-12, and only some of the TE-12s. So the thing is, here I am trying to be a TI using person that basically says, I'm going to try to explain why certain things are right and certain things are wrong. And because I'm an extroverted intuitor or an action type, I want to be the one who's putting out information.
Oh, thanks. No, I have no idea who she is. Belgian Canadian.
She's a Belgian Canadian singer-songwriter. Okay.
Thanks.
The thing is, I've already got so much time and energy invested into this platform that I wouldn't. So getting back to the central point here,
Giuliani.
if I'm going to be going through the internet and going about my business, correcting wrongnesses and or explaining like a professor, here's what the correct position is, using primarily my TI and my extroverted intuition, I'm going to run afoul of lots of other TI NE users, like, for example, Mike Hart. So it was very interesting. I haven't edited the video yet, but I've started to a little bit. Very interesting to hear him voice things that I hear myself voice all the time too. Like, how do you just take the best parts of each one and just get rid of the parts that don't work and stuff. But of course, the presumption there is that nobody else is capable of doing that, right? And as Mike Hart demonstrates, I'm not the only one who says that I'm capable of doing that and presumes that other people aren't. In this particular instance, however, it is the case that I happened upon a ideational battlefield that had yet to be resolved correctly, that was waiting for somebody to put the time and energy into actually figuring it out. And it was just, right time, right place, right happen, right fixation of the moment. All that stuff fell into place to make me the guy who was able to specifically articulate what was wrong in general with the way people were approaching it, adjust that framing issue, which was going to necessarily poison. Everything's going to be fruit from the poisonous tree if the frame's not right, and successfully make a good case, because I also not just right place, right time, but right skill set. I had already come into this situation with a long career as a debate coach, making cases that withstood scrutiny. Regardless, those particulars notwithstanding, it's natural that other NETI users, especially, are going to feel like they want to take me down a notch. So I do have a certain amount of
a lot of people talk about Twitch.
So, there's this quality of being the fastest gun in the West, kind of where all the kids come and want to try their hand at you. But as a human being, it starts to be demoralizing or depressing as you're forced to cut down in the prime of their youth all these contenders who are premature and challenging you, right? Additionally, you just realize that you get dragged into these street brawls and stuff like that, and it's not worth it. That people don't know what they're doing in terms of talking to you, basically. So, or arguing with you or whatever. It makes for a strange interactive landscape. I think that one of the ways that I've learned to successfully handle it better is to address it directly as I currently am, rather than simply engaging in it. So people throw out provocations and they'll say, well, this is an example of, meta up. This is an example of the sort of problems that, okay, well, then I will, that's right, 2:00 Sunday was that we want to meet with her. Okay, I'll change my calendar right now. This was 8:00, I thought. This was 8:00, but I don't know why I had it 4.
Okay, good.
Okay, maybe I just forgot about that it was supposed to be a 4 or something. Okay, so let me change the date on this to the 24th. So, it's like this is an example of something that I'm talking about, right? Like this guy I debated last time. It was it's like a game where your job is to continue to dig out the sludge of the swamp faster than it refills in the hole. It's not a fun game, and there's no point, and it's just you just slogging against dissembling.
Yeah.
People are trying to say mean less so that you can't. I'll destroy the whole of meaning in order to prevent you from successfully out-meaning me.
Yeah, I don't like it. Turns messy.
Yeah.
And it gets a little whiny too. Like, no, this is my version. But I believe, this is what I believe is true.
So, I mean, one thing that did get through to me a little bit from Marty is when he said, like, he paced his house back and forth and stuff. I've had those experiences too, where I'm highly engaged emotionally by what's going on online, and it used to be a lot more so than now that it would persist even when I wasn't online. I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job of self-care in terms of like consuming, not just producing. I need to be careful not to go into these full blast production bursts because it starts being counterproductive after a little while.
What up, female anthrax?
Eric, I mistyped Radiance Wisdom, aka Philosophical Thinker. He's such a. When did I type him at all? Did I type him? I don't think I typed him.
I don't remember, yeah.
Or did I? Did I type it as
Maybe one of the
ISTJ?
fast ones. I don't know.
All right, so it's like I typed him as ISFP. Okay, so it's like what Mark Dan says here. He comes in and positions his his comment in a very adversarial way, so that it's not just that doesn't impact anything.
Yeah, that doesn't.
That's ridiculous. What he's saying, you mistyped him. He is such an obvious ISTP. It's like a stereotype. So in other words, not only did you mistype him, but it was an absolute layup, and you just totally tanked it. So, of course, you'll note additionally that it's just pure FE. So there's no warrant whatsoever, except that it's obvious that he's an ISTP. And I guess I typed him as an ISFP. So basically, you're saying I missed TI. Like I didn't notice that he actually did better on the TI questions than I thought he did, or what? I'm not sure what you're saying. So the thing is, of course, that's a good example of what I'm talking about, where somebody's coming in and they're doing something that's critical within the range of acceptable kinds of pushback, and yet has additionally these layers of FE assault on them that are basically saying, not only are you wrong about this, but you had, it's indicative of some basic inherent stupidity within you to have been that wrong about this one. Your constitution does not need to be rattled. It is solid. Unfortunately, this exchange venue is fertile ground for instant gratification for those searching themselves and are protected by anonymity. I mean, it's true, Jeff Shaw. I will always be subject to what I call spite monkeys or hate monkeys or whatever that come in and are just looking to tear me down and buy whatever means is available to them. And I do feel very. That's the thing. I feel very secure in myself. Like, I know who I am. I know where my strengths lie. I know where my weaknesses lie. I'm not insecure about much, really. I'm not worried about any sort of secrets being revealed because I'm very transparent. And I try to walk a very narrow path, so I don't think I'm susceptible to legitimate moral critique. I want to always maintain the moral high ground, so I behave accordingly. At the same time, I recognize that I have historically been more adversarial in my approach than is desirable or useful. I've seen the adversarialness in others like me. I see myself in them, and I go like, am I like that? I am like that. I do that too. And it makes me think growth requires me to transition into a more honest approach, because fundamentally it's an approach that is strategic, it's tactical, it's assuming you are going to have a competition with the person you're talking to over who's right. And sometimes that's absolutely an important question, certainly, but it doesn't necessarily mean that but it doesn't have to be, I guess the best way to put it is this: it doesn't have to be resolved with any additional FE baggage. It's like the most civil kind of discourse is that which affords reasonableness the social points rather than correctness, I guess. Thank you, Jeff Shaw. I appreciate your very articulate and insightful chat as well. Stands out somewhat. Not to disparage anybody at all, but it definitely. Yeah. So anyway, I think the problem was you were too anxious. You weren't really able to say much or explain anything, which was confusing given Spacey and Eric are NTPs. I mean, look, I don't know. I don't even remember the typing session. I have a vague memory now that I think about being surprised by his reticence in the typing session. So I do remember it a little bit. I sort of remember that takeaway. Like, he wasn't particularly responsive. He didn't give me a lot of words. I've also noticed that Octavia Silva is way more wordy here in the live chat than she is in person.
True.
So
yeah, she likes to get down to business when she talks with you.
Yeah, me too.
It's good. We need someone like that.
Yeah. So I guess the other thing is, it kind of links to this. Chloe is somebody who is an ESFP, basically destroyed one of the raw channels by continuing to sabotage it by posting copyrighted materials, places, and stuff like that. And just basically, I mean, well, she's the one who's primarily responsible for the deletion of the raw channel, where I lost many thousands of hours of video footage of people having conversations and stuff. So I render her persona non grata accordingly. Yeah, Octavia Silva edited the video. Some ISFJ woman removed you. I don't know who that would be.
Found out my dad's in a very nice, warm relationship. He met his girlfriend Mary's kids and stuff, and it went really well. They love my dad, and it made me really happy.
How old are they?
The eldest is going to be 30, and the youngest is 25.
Does that mean you're gonna get to meet his girlfriend too?
Well, that's what I was asking.
Mm.
Yeah, well, actually, Kat said she was like, maybe you should Zoom and meet her that way.
Yeah, I'd like to meet her too.
Yeah.
The thing is, so I've been a little bit, I guess, depressed today or something, and I realized at a certain point that it had to do with my dad, and like last night he came out here and was basically like, let me know if you see me sort of slipping or whatever. He's worried about getting an Alzheimer's disease or something, and I don't know, it just sort of kicked into motion this cascade of feelings of both guilt and I guess FI stuff. When I'm processing FI, it's never a good thing when I'm processing FI. It's never like, or very rarely, that I'm having to process some amazing triumph or glorious, wonderful thing that I'm having to process. It's usually something that's challenging, like how to get closer and spend more time with my dad, despite the fact that it's almost impossible for me to predict him. So it's like, I don't know. No matter what I think of, this is a good idea. If it comes from my mouth, it gets rejected as no. So I guess it made me realize that I'm spending a lot of time in NI land, where I'm watching anime, distracting myself with the beautiful truths of the world, the NIFE stuff, the stuff that makes me cry. I sit here and I experience all these emotions watching all these television shows, and then I make stuff. I'm in NE land doing this kind of stuff. I do a little bit of TE stuff. I'm editing or whatever, and or teaching TI stuff, but I'm not much in my FI at all, and I'm also not very much in my SI. I tend to avoid my SI when I can, and unfortunately, for me to be healthy and happy and everything, I need to make more of an effort of being regular about SI. Making breakfast every morning or something, Meow, 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 meow.
We need to get the breakfast first, you know.
All right. What anime? So we were watching Blue Exorcist until we finished it.
Really good.
As far as
I really like it.
As far as the big boobs, yeah, that one was featured some boobage. In fact, one of the main badass Exorcist ladies' nickname from Ren was Boobzilla.
Yeah, is fitting.
So, Eric, so you said in the past that a good way to see what functions people values is see what values conflict, but how does that work for using ENTP? How do NE and TI conflict? Okay, well, I think let me express what I said. That if you want to check people's values, you have to say, which one do you prefer when they conflict? So if you don't say that, then you're not going to get a very good comparison because they're going to always say, well, I like them both. What do you prefer? Truth or fairness? Well, I want both of them or something, So you have to usually come up with an example of the values conflicting to present to people in order for them to meaningfully address the question even. If you're asking me an example of when NE and TI conflict, well, I might be writing a story and I might want to include some stuff that doesn't withstand TI scrutiny, like explanation of some sort of magic system that has some holes in it, basically, because after all, it's magic. But I need that magic system, and it'll be TI sound up here, but not right here or whatever. Then that's fine as long as it works for my intuition. That would be an example of TI consistency conflicting with any desire to go with this new idea I have, even if it's inconsistent with something else I said before. I'll probably NE a way out of it rather than TI get rid of it. Meaning like I'll go, oh, by the way, I should have said this before, but blah, 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 add something to make it all work out or something like that. So the thing is, what Oliver Linehan says, I think is true of everybody. I don't really understand my polars or anything. I don't really understand what it is. I feel the same way about FI, except I think I understand it a lot better than I used to be. I used to understand it. So I know now that when I'm thinking about importance and it's taking me a really long time, it's really slow, and I keep my words keep falling apart before my eyes for some reason, that I am FI processing. When I start trying to explain it or talk about it to Rachel, I just go, and then it's like, because I just sort of fall silent, and then I really have trouble explaining FI stuff.
But you display it well.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I'm perfectly fine as long as life allows me to just deal with FI as a toddler deals with FI. I don't need to, since the toddler's not in charge, it doesn't matter. It can be a toddler because it's not really making decisions, and when inappropriate, when toddler FI is inappropriate, toddler gets sent back inside. And then the rest of the Eric deals with. The problem is this. There are certain things in which only toddler FI is appropriate to deal with. And so the rest of us have to go, oh, fuck. Here we go. All right. Go on, little guy. Work on the problem now. Let's just go on and watch TV and play cards and keep an eye on toddler FI over there. Is he done yet? What the fuck is he thinking about? Why does it take so long? And he's got to poke at the pond and look at the fish and then then after a long ass time, he'll come and he'll say, "You feel sad about your dad." That was what all that FI.
That's so relatable.
That's what all that FI meowing about for toddler FI. That's the only thing it produced. I was like, oh, okay. All right. This is a dad thing, huh? All right, fine. Thank you, toddler FI. Go back inside.
Yeah.
But I have to leave him in charge for like a day. And so I'm just sort of sitting here silently. I don't know if Rachel's feeling
I
like,
felt it.
maybe
Because
like
sometimes-
neglected or something because I'm not even
Oh, no.
talking to her or whatever.
No. It's me. I am very empathic. So I can feel when something's off, But the thing is that I want you to tell me what's going on. Like, it's not really my place to pry. I don't feel if I can't find a reason why. Like,
I wouldn't have been able to tell you anyway
Yeah.
until I figured it out.
I was just like, he's just off. I felt off today. I did. Some days that happens.
Who plays music? Who creates? I play music.
Hey, Octavio Silva. We were just
I make a lot of songs.
talking. Yes, he
Sorry to
does. He's
interrupt
very talented.
Thank you, darling.
You're welcome.
Hi, Octavia Silva. I am currently discussing the important topic of toxicity and social media. So it's like there's additionally this thing that is, and I'll get to your question there about crying frequency in a second, Oliver, but there's additionally this factor that says there's a competition between protecting people's free expression and protecting people's ontology and feelings and knowing where to draw certain lines in terms of moderating the chat, which is not something that naturally I'm not naturally inclined to over moderate. Let's say I'm naturally inclined to under moderate, and that can be sometimes objectionable to FI types who think perhaps that I'm not prioritizing enough people's feelings. And I want to stress, I'm not saying people have a right to free speech here. I'm saying that I'm prioritizing freedom of expression as a value by choice. So it's the questions that the Supreme Court answers regarding free speech are questions regarding how much the federal government can have a role in, or government in general can have a role in constraining speech legally. That's very different than this context. Get to this question after that. Okay, well, let me answer the crying frequency. I will say I probably cry more than most people per day. I cry many, many times a day watching the very TV shows that we watch.
I love it, man.
I am very much it's like there are some people who like laugh very easily at jokes and they'd be good audience members for a comedy thing. I am very easily impacted by, I guess, NIFE, SIFE stuff. And so I'm an ideal audience for that kind of stuff. It makes me just weep copious tears. Did I get infected with liberal PC sometime in the past 24 hours? Oh, me? What are you talking about?
Oh.
What have I said that's liberal PC at all? I mean, look, there are multiple competing vectors here. On the one hand, it's free expression. On the other hand, it's concern for people's experience, whether they have good, positive or negative experiences. Other people's feelings matter for lots of reasons, Gen Xio. It's unwise to not consider the experience of other people from multiple angles of understanding. One would call it unwise. So where was I going with this? So I don't know how much that really links to cognitive function stack or not. You would expect the FI DOMs to be the most cryy, but I'm FI polar and I'm super cryy. Also, Delilah, super cryy in the same way that I am.
In the same exact way. Instant.
She cries quickly and then it's over and it's like the blue skies. It goes like sudden storm cloud, then immediately thereafter blue skies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the FI polar thing, and I think that I don't know if she and I should be generalized from or not, because it's also the case that we were both very well loved as children. So we probably felt safe crying and revealing our emotions and not not hiding them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it may have a lot to do with that. In some sense, I'm soft and gentle because I've learned it's safe to be soft and gentle.
Yeah.
It's safe to be vulnerable and safe to reveal yourself. And then on the other hand, I've also learned that vulnerability can be turned into incredible offense very easily. It's not just defense. So, for example, I mentioned this the other day. There was this this video I clicked on for some reason by this MGTOW guy who was reading a submission from some guy who had been treated shabbily by a random woman on Tinder, who had basically attacked his ontology and told him he's never going to get a girl, he's ugly, stuff like that, right? And he said, the host of the YouTube video said that the submitter of the material had attacked back poorly, and he should have attacked back like this. Well, the reality is that the strongest attack in that sense is, why would you be so cruel and attack who I am at such a fundamental level like that, or something like that, or what made you decide to be so cruel to me? Is a good response, right? It's a question. You're not trying to win a battle at that point. The person's in the moral wrong, so you might as well take advantage of the moral high ground. It's going to be the most effective attack because the person's girded for battle, and you come and the effect of your words is, oh shit, I thought I was fighting another soldier, but I was really shooting a bunny rabbit or something. Then all of a sudden you've turned the tables on them. And then what are they going to do? What are they going to say? Well, I'm an awful human being and I like to do that.
Thank you.
Thank it's going to be a challenge for them to win that kind of argument. So, Legends False says, I'm at bipolar and the only time I cry is for someone else when they experience happy shit. Never cry for myself or anything sad. Well, I'm talking about crying, sort of, I guess what you call it, like, there's a word for it. Like when you move one finger and your other finger can't help but move a little bit or something like that. It's, there's a biology word for it. Anyway, sympathetic, I think maybe. Sympathetic, sympathetic FE. It's like I cry when I watch shows that have sad part. Not necessarily sad, but especially, sometimes sad, but especially like,
It's great. It's everything the writers want the audience to express. Like, you show it. Really. That's what the writers are doing. They're not just doing that, for themselves. They want the audience to enjoy it in that passionate way too. And you reflect that. What?
Is crying really a sign of FI though? Well,
see,
that's such an interesting question, because the thing is, when we understand FI as a deliberation function, then I understand my experience today as being much more of an FI experience. In other words, I was processing how I felt and trying to figure out, I guess, what it meant or what the takeaway was or something. And that's much more in line with FI as a deliberation function. I'm much more familiar with FI in the real-time expression of it, namely as an experience rather than a deliberation function. Is it, in fact, an experience as well as a deliberation function? Yeah, it's both. But it is correct to say that simply crying does not comprise the totality of FI.
No. That's making it simple.
As I said, your emotions are not you, but only things that happen to you. It has nothing to do with your personality. I think FI is a judgment function. It has more to do with how you come to conclusions. Well, I think you're sort of half right there. FI, in its deliberative capacity, does have more to do with how you come to conclusions, but it's incorrect to say that there isn't an experiential component to it. For example, we can describe the physical feeling of having emotions. I used to get this, and still occasionally do get this metallic taste under my tongue when I was about to go into battle, say like going to a debate round or going to a big tournament as a coach or whatever. I don't know exactly what it associated with, except to say like excitement, anticipation, and like all emotions have some kind of physical correlate to them. Bipolar people like me, they almost have to have it pointed out to them before they notice it. But there's definitely an experiential expression in the body. FI is a physical function, and it's most native in real time as an experience of the body as well as of the spirit, so to speak.
I was a brat as a kid. Like, if I didn't think something was fair, or if I was being treated unfairly, I wasn't going to make it easy for her.
Yeah, I think by and large, I don't recall being treated unfairly. I recall my parents treating me fairly about things. Like I always had my chance to make my case, and they were, they wanted to, they were on my team. They wanted me to win to the extent that I could. So it's like they were good parents.
Yeah, very much so.
Let me see what Octavia Silva sent me. I see the next one to be type policed. Do you know what type he says he is?
Yeah, has he said it explicitly? The limbic system is how flexible one is. From limber.
Yeah, FI links really directly to the moisture glands.
Yes.
The dewdrop.
Yes.
The dewdrop. What's it called? Sweetmeat.
Yeah, sometimes it comes out my nose. Like sometimes, like I'll say I know I'm sad because my nose is running.
That can also correlate with yawning as well.
Yeah.
Well, FI having to do with how you come to conclusions includes how you identify what actions are acceptable and not acceptable to take. Doesn't have anything to do with crying and necessarily. Well, I mean, but for example, FDM plates 48, most conclusions are not linked to actions from FI people's perspective, except incidentally or after the fact. So when Marty concludes that he's still an INFJ, it's not because he's deciding what actions to take. It's because he's not noting the difference between things that are matters of disinterest and things that are matters of interest. It's a status or whatever. Now, certain kinds of actions may follow necessarily from once he decides a given status, but you're positioning it as from a TE frame, which says that necessarily you're trying to have a progression of steps towards a goal or something, And that's not how FI above TE works. It's how TE above FI works, maybe. is it out of the realm of possibilities that Tom Jiggleson would be type police? Who is Tom Jiggleson? I see him around here, but I don't know what his channel. I didn't know he had a channel.
Either. I want to blame baseball for my nail biting. It's a little bit of resin too, but also baseball.
He only has 24 subscribers. This is the thing. It's like I really prefer to get people who have a lot of subscribers. So it's not like I'm picking on people, you know. Is it possible Queens Gambit with ISFP instead of ISTJ? Possibly. I guess. I don't. Yeah, maybe.
You could.
Yeah, it actually kind of would make more sense. That would be representative of SE Tool than TE Tool. Okay, so what does Ben Shapiro say he is? Does Ben Shapiro state a particular type that he says he is? Bacon says that Ben Shapiro says he's an INTJ. Interesting. I have to find sort of the clip of him saying what type he is. I'm going to type police him. I have to. He's not making a point of going around talking about his type. So,
Find the video.
Yeah.
What does Head Play songs like in my head?
Yeah, this is not something to cry about. I think that it's reasonable to say to some loved one, it's helpful to remember the impact that crying has on other people, because that's just sort of, don't forget to incorporate the FE frame as well.
Sometimes I do sit there and I'm like, I'm like, damn, like, should I be crying right now too? Why am I not crying?
Ella, I'm very confident in my typing of what they're not. Naturally, I've never been, and I should probably make a point of this at the beginning of the next one. Maybe I'll make that disclaimer. I've never been, and will never claim to be, confident of what type of person is at the end of a Type Please episode. I will be confident enough that they're not Mia to throw them in the slammer, or insufficiently confident that they're not Mia to throw them in the slammer. Those are the two possible outcomes. There is no outcome that they're going to the slammer because they are a Mia. They only go to the slammer because they're not a Mia.
Right.
Yeah, that could go in the description.
Distinctions.
On these little disclaimer at the beginning, so I prevent those kind of comments. And I've also said in the past as well, although it doesn't really feel like it anymore, so I probably wouldn't say it anymore because it doesn't really feel true. It used to be more true that Sergeant Host Eric is a character that's somewhat distinct from actual Eric or Host Eric. You know, Host Eric is the same thing as regular Eric, basically. Am I a Type Police introverted thinker? No, I haven't. Okay, I'm gonna. So, what are you linking me to here, Octavio Silva? Copy. Yeah. 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 Yeah, I think he seems more. Oh, he's definitely not a TI dome. That's ridiculous. Why did I put that there? That's not where I meant to put that. That's my bad. I didn't mean to put that link there. I meant to put that link here instead. What is this? Oh, Ben Shapiro takes the 16 personalities test, huh? Okay, well, I mean, I guess that would.
That is.
I guess I could type police in. I could type police in. I'll think about it.
It's October and it's spooky.
Yeah, the bottom line is there's no way in hell that I mean, if you want to edit the Mike Hart one, Octavio Silva, just tell me you want to do that now, and I won't bother. I just barely did anything on it before I got tired. I'm feeling, like I said, I'm in kind of a place. Well, cool, thank you. That'd be fantastic. It's shorter. It should be easier, less work than the other one. It's up there still, so there you go.
Oh, they smell bad. I'm sorry, baby.
I think I'm going to wrap this up unless anybody has any last key questions, comments, concerns, complaints, queries, quandaries, quizzes, or quirks that you'd like to share. Any tips for MBTI typing yourself? Well, you can play how do I impact, how do I know, how do I decide, and how do I interface. But whether or not you're going to be able to trust your answers to that kind of depends on your type, so it's kind of a pointless exercise in some regard. That's fundamentally what all those questions and self-reporting tests come down to, are those 4 questions. It comes down to, how do you impact? Do you impact most when you're talking or when you're not talking? How do you decide? Do you decide based on your interests or on what's most logically correct? How do you know? Do you know from your own experience, or do you know by intuition about the universal? And how do you interface? You interface by making sure that the people are all attended to, or are you interfacing by dealing with ordinalities, namely making sure you don't get to step 6 and realizing you had to do step 1 differently and have to take everything down and start over again. Good TE prevents that phenomenon from occurring. Good FE prevents your success from also making enemies. So they both sort of prevent, they are adaptive enough to prevent breakdown on the dynamic system levels. INTP, INFP differences. That's such a tough question to answer.
Thank you.
The thing is, they frame differently. Look, logic is a tricky word, Torvis, because there's logics to all sorts of things. Biology is biologics, right? Well, and probably is completely oblivious to the pointlessness of that, So he can do that if he wants to, but he's circle jerking himself, which is the loneliest kind of circle jerk. So I would point out the following thing. I'm going to share this thing that's in progress here. This document here, whereby you can see it's not done yet, but you'll see the first part of it is done yet. is done, but anyone with the link, copy the link, can view, done. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. If you look at this thing, it'll show you, I'm building a chart to talk about value comparisons between the different types. So, for example, this first thing shows you the instrumental and absolute value for every type. So you'll see INFP's values go III, AI, AAA. You always have 4 of each, right? So INTPs also go III, A, but then the next one's different and the next one's different, and the last two are the same. So in other words, INTPs and INFPs only don't share values on TI and FI. So that's is to say that they are quite similar in their value matrix to each other, as are, I guess, every equivalent example, like ESTP and ENTP would be an equivalent example, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Where's ENTP? Right there. So that would be like, this one's different, this one's different, same. Right, so the ESTP and ENTP only differ in values on their dominant function. But of course, it's their dominant function. So if you have different values about the dominant function, that's going to be a problem. Now, Rachel and I have more than 4 spots where we don't share. In other words, I think more than 2 spots where we differ, but we agree about each other's dominant functions. So if you look here at like ENTP and INFJ, where's INFJ? Right there. Then you'll see that we differ on SE, which is not my action function. And we differ on, those next 3. And we differ on SI, on TI, no. Yeah. And on FE. So it's like our 2 3s differ, and then we differ about the other kind of action function than my own, and about the other kind of knowledge function than her own. So it's like we're in agreement in the values in the 1 4, and we're in disagreement on the 2 3, etc. So anyway, when I'm done making that chart, I'll have more explanation. I haven't really.
It's an interesting thought, actually.
What would you say I get from Rachel's NI? I mean, I think what I get from it most of all is a balancing of creation with consumption, and a balancing of quantity by constraint towards more quality. So in other words, Rachel is balancing me on an NI-NE level. And what I was feeling sad about today, I guess, in part, was my allowing myself to be too imbalanced on an SI-NI level. And I kind of felt a lot better after I spent some time with my dad this evening. And so, it's like I need to do a better job of feeding myself. I need to do a better job of a lot of things. But at the end of the day, I'm happiest with my dominant function being valued as more of an absolute value than it would be if I were with my socionics dual, which is to say my dominant function is thought of as basically there to serve rather than there to appreciate, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it.
Okay, I think I'm gonna call this, wrap it up. I need to go.
Too.
Maybe I want to go run through the Jack in the Box maybe and get some breakfast sandwiches.
Oh my gosh!
You
Yeah,
do
you
that?
read my
Oh,
mind.
let's go do that. All right, I will come back and tomorrow, and I'll make another live stream tomorrow where I answer more of these questions and stuff. I appreciate your questions. You're asking good questions that deserve to be answered. That question you asked there needs more of an answer that I can give right off just by saying yeah. So anyway, thanks a lot for being here. I'm really excited that 36 people are here and it's 11 p.m.
wonderful.
and it's
Yeah.
fantastic. I really
Thanks for
appreciate
being
you being here.
here.